The underground church in Syria. In the heart of war-torn Syria, where ancient cities have become battlegrounds and churches lie in ruins, there beats a quiet pulse of unwavering faith. Beneath the shattered stones and silenced bells, a secret church lives, hidden, bruised, but unbroken. This is not the Church of Cathedrals and Choirs. This is the underground Church of Syria, born in blood, sustained by whispers and anchored in hope. A land that knew the apostles. Syria's Christian history runs deep. The road to Damascus was where Saul became Paul, and the city of Antioch is where believers were first called Christians. The apostles preached here, churches were planted here, and for centuries faith flourished. But as centuries passed, politics, wars, and waves of radicalization reshaped the region. By the 21st century, Syria, once home to over 2 million Christians, was becoming a place of rising hostility toward Christians, especially after the outbreak of civil war in 2011. When Syria plunged into civil war, it wasn't just buildings that were destroyed, it was communities. Amid the chaos, various militant groups, some driven by extremist ideologies, began targeting Christians specifically. Villages were emptied, churches were bombed, ancient monasteries were looted. In places like Aleppo, Homs, and parts of Raqqa, Christians faced a deadly choice: convert, flee, or die. Many fled. But some stayed, choosing not to abandon their homes, their faith, or their flocks. These were the ones who built the underground church. In cities under siege, believers found refuge in the most unlikely places: basements, caves, storage rooms, even underground tunnels dug out with bare hands. Here, under the cover of darkness, they gathered to pray, worship, and read scripture. Services were short. Candles replaced electric lights. Hymns were whispered, not sung. Bibles were smuggled in, sometimes only fragments. A single New Testament shared by dozens. A child's voice reciting memory verses was considered a sacred liturgy. When asked why they risked everything to meet, one Syrian believer simply said, "Because Jesus met us in the dark, and we will meet him there too." Shepherds of the underground. Many Syrian pastors and priests became shepherds in exile, moving from home to home, always on alert. They carried communion in their coat pockets, sometimes in hiding for days, waiting for a safe window to gather believers. In some areas, Muslim neighbors helped protect Christian families, guarding house churches from extremist raids. In others, Christian communities formed underground networks, messaging each other with coded language, changing meeting times constantly. Despite the danger, new believers emerged, drawn by the courage of the Christians who refused to hate, who offered food to enemies, and who prayed for their persecutors. The martyrs and the miracles, many paid the ultimate price. In Malula, a historic Christian village, believers were murdered for refusing to deny Christ. Entire families disappeared and others were publicly executed as warnings. Yet amid the sorrow came stories of divine intervention. One group, trapped under rubble after a bombing, survived for 6 days with nothing but prayer. Another underground church escaped detection during a raid because a local teenager alerted them minutes before. Faith didn't always prevent suffering, but it gave meaning to it. The underground church became not just a shelter, but a symbol of resurrection, technology, and the digital catacombs. As surveillance tightened, some Christians turned to encrypted apps, live streaming hidden services to isolated believers. WhatsApp prayer chains, Bible study on Telegram, and YouTube sermons under fake names became the digital catacombs of the 21st century. Missionaries disguised as aid workers helped deliver supplies and audio Bibles. Christian media organizations broadcast hope into Syria via satellite, sometimes picked up by house churches huddled around battered TVs with broken antennas. Even in a digital world, the underground church adapted and survived. Hope in the ashes today, while many Syrian Christians have fled to Lebanon, Turkey, and Europe, thousands remain. They are rebuilding their homes, reopening schools, restoring churches stone by stone. They do not ask for revenge, only for peace. One underground pastor, when asked what keeps them going, replied, "They tried to bury us, but we are like seeds." This is how the church was born, in caves and catacombs. We are only going back to where it all began. The legacy lives on. The secret underground church in Syria is not just a story of hiding. It is a story of standing. In the face of war, betrayal, and violence, it remains a testimony to unshakable faith. It echoes the early Church of Rome and Jerusalem. It reminds us that Christianity was never built on safety or privilege, but on the power of love in the face of death. Sunscribe.